Ladies and gentlemen, it's time again for another Survival of the Fittest. Is the soup du jour con Chef Treviño. Aquí estamos esta tarde en Lake Nona, and I'm feeling good. And I tell you what, you know what's wonderful about Lake Nona? It's become such a Latino hub. It's like caché. Es como cachendoso. Es como que fresa. Really, really like that. So I like that about Lake Nona. You know, it's become a sort of like Latin chic, you know, and really, you know, cooking at Don Julio has been really good for me. I absolutely love it because, you know, as you know, I cook there. I'm one of the chefs, and I get to go to all the different restaurants, you know, and I get to see all the chefs, all the chef de cuisines that do all the sauces, all the rices. And let me tell you, they do all the rices and all the sauces. This place is, and you know, again, I say this from the heart of a chef, not as like the guy who works there. There's no endorsement here. This is like what I'm seeing with my eyes. And then I've run many restaurants, and I've had many cooks and chefs under my kitchen. And this place has a very, very unique style to do very authentic food, you know, where we have to work so hard to keep it that way, you know, where you see like the mole and you say like, wow, you know, really? The mole is like 40 ingredients, all like, you know, just 16 or 17 or 18 different paces to go forward on this recipe, you know, and like you say to yourself, like, what, is this necessary? But in the end, when you taste the food, you say to yourself, yeah. It was indeed very necessary. You know, I come from very fast-paced kitchen chef style, you know. And having, you know, joined the Don Julio staff and learned from, his, Lorenzo's, like, founding chef, Chucho, who's, like, this guy. I swear, you know, it's sometimes, you know, and I love chefs and I love cooks and I love the whole process. And I see this guy, he cooks, he's just got such a natural style and such a nonchalant sort of way to throw stuff into a pan and then all of a sudden kind of set it up for you. And even though his plating is old school, you know, when you bite the different things he cooks, you realize to yourself that there is a true culinarian behind this who understands, you know, the gelatins, the fats, the flavors, the salt content, all these different things that make a dish truly amazing. You know, that when your guest actually take a fork of it, you know, they fork it up and they fucking put it in their mouth and they go like, wow. You know, because that's the goal. That's the goal, to do something amazing like that where people actually, your efforts and your vision become a very spiritual and an incredible moment for your guests when they taste your food and they actually sort of process the whole thing. That's when you know you're doing something amazing, you know, and that's when you realize that being the chef is probably the most incredible position you can have for somebody. You know, this is the last true luxury, accessible luxury, dining out. If you're lucky enough to have a chef who's dedicated enough to serve you, to give you as the guest something incredible, something unique, something exciting, then you should understand that you are fortunate. I'm not saying this like an arrogant chef, like you should be fortunate, I'm cooking for you, man. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if you as a guest can find these corners of culinarians where the staff wants to make you feel amazing. Well, that's what you're looking for. And, kind of going back to the whole how we started this conversation tonight was, the authenticity, the effort put into the food, and the effort put into the service, and the effort put into the style and the vision of the restaurant to share with their guests, and for their guests to really become part of the restaurant's story. This is what we're talking about. What are we talking about exactly? We're talking about when the guest, the restaurant concept, the chefs, the food, the service, and everything really kind of join together and make a very special moment in life. For you, for me. I mean, and it's equal, honestly, because there's not a moment where I'm not cooking for somebody and feel like I'm sorry, y'all. This is how much I love the kitchen. It makes me sort of punch drunk with the whole thing. As a matter of fact, Rick, who is my publicist, thank you to Havoc Media, and he always says to me, "You get drunk with the kitchen?" And I say to myself, well, yeah, that's how I've got here. That's how I got here, and I talk some mean shit. All right, y'all. I tell you what. You want some authentic, great Mexican food, and you are in Central Florida and Orlando, come to Don Julios. I'll be there. And I still kind of feel like a witness as opposed to like one of the chefs. And even though I do a lot of dishes and I bring new stuff to the menu and I do a lot of fun stuff, it's an amazing position. It's very unique to anything I've ever done before, because all of a sudden I walk from, I will go from kitchen to kitchen. There's 4 restaurants. They're very busy. They all crank. I mean, let me be honest with you. When I say crank, and y'all know what I mean when I say crank, these restaurants, they crank. All right? So it's a very unique position. So I get to see, amongst all these different cooks, all these different sous chefs, all these different guys who run the lines, the guys who make the salsas, the guys who cook on the flat top, the quesadillas and all the chimichangas and all that stuff. I tell you what, it's amazing. All right? I am so privileged to get to see the quality of work, the quality of chefs that are in these kitchens, man. I am blessed because I believe I belong to an order. I'm not just like, oh, yeah, this is my job, dude. No. I belong to an order, almost a secret society, where recipes and technique and lore among chefs is real. So I go into these kitchens, and that's my approach. And different from many people, because many people have different approaches to their jobs. But this is my approach. I mean, I'm I just want to live it, and I sort of create it, and I make this sort of like this mission of it, the mission of making great cooks, the mission, the mission. I'm sorry, y'all. I spend time at home when I do these podcasts, and I do them with Havoc Media, his team, Rick's team, and my dogs. And it just never fails that my dogs just kind of get out of hand. All right. So it's a very special place for me, the kitchen, and it becomes almost holy ground, and I've sold it to that for years to my cooks. Like, you're so lucky, you're so privileged to be on this particular moment, this particular spot, this particular real estate that becomes holy ground. And I just love that. And so with this new position I have here with Don Julio, I'm allowed to go to these different kitchens and see that. And see the different level of quality, the authenticity of the food. It's you know what, I'm not, once again, I'm being very serious as a chef. I absolutely love it. It's spectacular. So, that's what I have to say about what I'm doing these days professionally. I'm fortunate as a chef, to have really kind of run the gamut as a chef, done it all and have had the luck to be on TV and shit like that, where that's just another level. I mean, another level only because more people, more exposure. That's it. No big deal. Whatever. But the exposure is good to get your message out there. And sometimes I say to myself, well, is your message worth the shit, bro? Really? And I say to myself, you know what? If you can inspire someone to look at their profession in the kitchen as something very unique and something very special, then I think it's worth doing. And this is worth doing. And if, I have a lot of cooks and a lot of chefs and a lot of sous chefs and a lot of, commis and on and on and on, chef de partie, the works, because that's our tradition, listening to this show, then yes, that's what I want to do. I want to share with those culinarians that message, and so it's worth it. And it's worth going every day to work and putting out the covers and understanding, once again, this is just the road of greatness that we take as culinarians onward in our careers. And I love that. There are a lot of professions in the world. A lot of people do a lot of different things, but something very unique about the kitchen. When it gets super busy and you're working next to your colleagues, your fellow cooks, and everyone's so overwhelmed with work because it's intense and it's fast and everyone wants their food perfect, and your job is to give it to them perfect. That is in itself a very, very privileged place to share with other people. And when you take those experiences forward in your life, there's just, how could you put a price? How could you really say that, oh, it was this or that, it was exciting. It was everything. It was everything. And it currently is everything. In my case, it's my everything. And it's allowed me to share my everything with everyone I touch in the culinary world. Cooks, people who don't approach it like I approach it. And I insist. And sometimes they'll even be a little skeptical, or maybe like, well, I don't even know how to take this motherfucker. Let me just kind of like push him to the side, or just kind of like. But in the end, they understand that the absolute vision that I bring is to produce an absolute wonderful dish for our guest. And that is what drives the restaurant business. You give your guests the absolute purest and most gold vision you have for them to pay you, and for your restaurant to continue to sustain itself and all its employees. That is it. And it is absolutely wonderful. So if you're privileged enough to have your own place and you are working it, you are on holy ground every day you walk into your restaurant. Don't forget that. That is special. And that's what I'm talking about. And that's what drives me to inspire cooks to do incredible things. That's what inspires me to allow people to fail next to me, as I knew how I failed. but so that failure becomes fact, becomes the lesson, and becomes non-existent in every pace, every step you take forward. And those are the things that the kitchen allows us as culinarians to experience every day. And as a culinarian who has had the absolute pinnacle of the culinary world, and I'm honest, and I say that humbly, and I'm very respectful when I say it to this microphone today. I'm gonna take a sip of this. Thank you to Orlando Brewing. It's a very, very special place, so cherish it. All right? My experience at Don Julio has been just that. Kind of like wake up again. Because it's busy, it's intense, and I get to do what I do best. And lucky enough for me, I've been able to share the magic of the whole culinary experience to the cooks. And I think some get it. I'd say 50-50. That's not like a super winning, percentage, but it's huge when you're talking about humanity, because people aren't easy, and we live life, and we know, and we're married, and we're loved, and we do it all, and we know it's not easy. So 50-50. Some believe and some want to make a ton of money, because that's the difference. If you approach it like a job, it's going to pay you like a job. If you approach it with passion and like a profession, it's going to pay you like that. So that's the difference. Everybody, how we looking? We're happy. We're good. We've been drinking. We've been, reminiscent. I enjoy my life as a chef, and I want to share that with you on this podcast. And sometimes I sound repetitive, but you know what? In the end, you say to yourself, the message is sano, healthy, fino. And that, in the end, will drive us forward. You, me, all of us. And the culinary world needs it. Enough of the arrogance, enough of the hazing. Been subject to all of it. Let's just feed our guests. Let's be happy. Let's cook. Cooking is such a wonderful thing. It doesn't matter what you cook, as long as you do with wonderful, exciting passion. And I know I will. To probably my last breath, I honestly believe I will be one of those chef that goes out in the kitchen. Sip, sip, sip. So, you've heard it all here today on Survival of the Fittest is the soup du jour, ladies and gentlemen, chefs, cooks, and everyone in between. New York, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Utah, Texas, y la gran isla de Puerto Rico and the subcontinent. Thank you for listening tonight. Estamos listos para seguir cocinando para todos ustedes. Find us all over the place, all platforms, okay? Go to our Patreon. We have some special stuff for you if you go to Patreon, so come check us out. Y ya está todo hablado. So nos vemos rapidito here on Survival of the Fittest is the soup du jour. Yo soy Chef Treviño y los quiero. Salud.